Thank you.
All right, good evening. You're watching Live with Faye. I'm Faye. Thank you for joining us every night at 8 p.m. on our YouTube channel. We talk about issues that really matter. Like I keep telling you, we don't have a debate. So this is not about pitting different people with different points of view and making them fight with each other. It's about getting people with different perspectives on the same matter to tell us what they think so that we be better informed and we can make better decisions. That's the idea with this show every evening. Now, those of you who are regulars on the show would have noticed that for some time we've had students respond to us in our chat window saying, please take a look at the JEE or the NET matter. There are exams that are not being postponed. Please take a look at it and do something about it. So we've been talking, in fact, to a lot of students over the last couple of days. My team and I have made several phone calls just to give you an update of what is going on. The joint entrance exam, which is the JEE or the G or the IITG as it's called, admissions to the IIT. It's a common entrance exam for anyone who wants to get into the IIT colleges. The National Eligibility Entrance Test is the common entrance test to get into medical colleges. Both of these will go ahead as scheduled according to the government. And this is a statement that's just come out from the Ministry of Education, in fact, a few hours ago. Now, there will be about 6.5 lakh students taking these exams from what we understand, and they're likely to take place in the first week of September and the second week of September. Now, the Supreme Court earlier this week had actually ruled that a precious year cannot be wasted, and these exams will in fact happen on time. Justice Arun Mishra, who was heading the bench, in fact said that life has to go on, life has to move ahead. A precious year of students cannot be wasted and their careers cannot be put into jeopardy. So the court will not move the exam dates, which is September 1 to 6 for the G and the September 13 for the NET examinations. Now, a group of 11 students from 11 states had moved the court asking for these exams to be rescheduled because of obviously the pandemic, and that's the reason why they're most worried. A lot of people have now responded to saying that if the court doesn't want to put careers at jeopardy, doesn't this exam put lives at jeopardy, and isn't that the problem? There was some hope, of course, when BJP politician Subramanian Swamy had written to the Prime Minister saying that these exams should in fact only be held after Diwali. But obviously that made no headway at all because the Ministry of Education has responded saying that the exams will be held as scheduled. So we're going to speak to students about why it is they believe that these exams should be moved. We also have a very senior professor from IIT to talk to us about whether or not a year would be lost and what that would mean. And we have a representative of the Parents Association as well. Going straight to our panel, Professor Pradipta Banerji is a professor of civil engineering at IIT Bombay. He was also the former director at IIT Roorkee. We have Itisha Kumari, who is a JEE aspirant, and Aman P, who is a NEET aspirant, and Anubha Sahai, who is the president of the India-wide Parents Association, and she's a child's rights activist. Good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining us. If I may start with Aman first. Aman, could you tell us why you believe that the NET exam that you are going to take should be postponed?
Ma'am, I would like to, hello ma'am, first of all, I would like to point out some points. For example, in Bihar, 16 out of 38 districts are totally flood affected. And in talking about NEET, as I'm a NEET aspirant, there are only 2 cities where NEET centers are there. And people say, and Bihar is under lockdown till 6 September, okay? And people say that there is no transport, all the trains are off and nothing, no public transport is there. And then some people say that government can arrange. If government would have arranged in Bihar transport, then they would not have postponed the Bihar police exam, and they did not have cancelled the compartmental exam, which they have already did. Ma'am, also I would like to say NEET and JEE is the exam which is given by the whole country students, not only a particular society, influential one. And we have seen recently in BEO exam, only 44% attendance was there. So if such thing happens in NEET, the more poor family would be deprived of giving the exams, especially in flood affected area. And corona is the main concern also, but apart from corona, these are the also main concern. And also, ma'am, our Subramaniam sir has told,
Mm.
requested to postpone the exam a little bit further. He is also, ma'am, I have seen a live in which he was telling that there is an involvement of lobby. He was saying, not I am, he was saying that there is an involvement of lobby who is forcing government to take exams on time. It has been said by him. Also, ma'am, I was watching a debate in Anubha ma'am was there at 5 p.m. on NDTV. There was a political analyst who said if we further postpone the exam, the employee of private colleges would get unemployed. So their main issue is that they are losing their job. They are not concerned about our academic issue. They are losing their job. So say they want to fill their desire, their family, all the facilities
Okay.
with
Okay.
sacrificing our life.
All right. So I really just only want to know from you what your challenges are. Let me bring in right now Professor Banerji. Professor Banerji, good evening, and thank you for agreeing to speak with us this evening. There have been some arguments saying that, first of all, if these exams are pushed any further, then an entire year would be in disarray. If they're pushed until next year, what will happen is effectively we'll have next year's batch of students competing as well, which means twice as many students competing for half the number of seats. In your mind, do you agree that that these exams should be pushed further?
No, see, I'll tell you. I hear Aman, and I think these are issues because if they're held in September, there are some issues, which he is discussing, which are genuine issues. For example, I'll tell you, GATE, for example, is held later in February purely because if it's held earlier, then all the hill places would be under snow. So similar thing he's talking about being flooding. Okay, so we need to address that issue. Okay, but by the way, just to let you know, the JEE mains is not about IIT. JEE mains is what was All India, engineering education. The IIT is after the JEE mains. Just
Okay.
to clarify that. So therefore, I totally do agree that if these are the issues, we need to address that. Now, as far as postponing, let me just take it forward. Postponing does not mean postponing to next year at all.
Okay.
Let me tell you what the IIT system. I'm talking about the IIT system. I only understand the IIT system. We have essentially 15 weeks of classes and then about 10 days of exams. Okay, so in essence, we spend about 30 weeks plus another maybe 3 weeks. So about 33 weeks is our academic calendar. Okay. So technically, we are almost now, if our students would have, when they give originally, if they gave in May, they joined in July. Okay, so the JEE mains is in May. They join in July. So if it let's say it's held in early October, they'll probably join in December.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, if push comes to shove, the whole system can ensure that it can be done by about the July middle. You know, if we don't have any vacation as such, by July middle we'll finish the first year. Okay. So in a way, while our system would get quite affected because whoever teaches first year would probably have everything pushed back, but I think it's doable. So in my mind, all I would like to say is that I think we should not postpone it indefinitely. But what Aman has said are things that are real. For example, Bombay, it's been, Bombay and the surroundings is raining so much, and, people might have problems. And, September, early September is still quite a bit of rains. So those are issues that I do not want to, these things need to be taken into account if everybody, because I think one of the system is the JEE main exam and the JEE advanced are supposed to be available to everybody. That is something that we are very sacrosanct about. So that's all I have to say.
Do you believe also, Professor, that the pandemic is a real threat here, other than the floods and the rains?
Let me just say something. You know, I mean, I am aware of the kind of things that are going on in JE Advanced. Okay, given the pandemic and the requirements of social, physical distancing. Okay, last year we had 90 centers all over for IIT Bombay, the part that IIT Bombay looks after. Okay, this year we have 185 centers. Okay, why? Because to ensure that everything is done through physical distancing. Okay, and in my mind, if we follow all the proper protocols, okay, I don't see any reason. Of course, there's the other issue of whether they're prepared or not. That's a different issue altogether. But as far as giving the exam is concerned, and the fact that we have in IIT Bombay, we've already more than doubled our centers to ensure that there is significant distance between two people. I in my mind, it's been 5 months since the pandemic kind of hit. You know, in my
Yes.
mind, how long should we live in panic about the pandemic? I mean, today a lot of people are actually saying lives and livelihood. Okay, so I think there's a valid point in that. So I don't think that's the issue, but the
Okay.
issues that Aman has talked about are valid issues which I think need to be addressed. But JEE Main is not under IITs at all, so we don't directly come into it.
Right. Aman, a quick question to you, which is obviously going to pop up. Is it
Hello, ma'am. You're not
the
audible.
pandemic is being taken to handle the pandemic, Aman?
Yes, ma'am.
Could it be that a lot of students are just not, sorry, Aman, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now, sir.
Yes. Could it be that a lot of students are just not prepared, Aman?
Ma'am, we cannot say like this that the students are not prepared. Ma'am, there are many of my friends, they are preparing for
If Aman can
5
hear me,
years.
let me just go. Itisha Kumari, who joins us as well. Itisha is a G aspirant. Itisha, क्या आपको लगता है क्या Itisha?
Maybe we've lost you.
Right.
Ma'am, we lost you.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So let me just ask the question to Itisha. Itisha, क्या आपको लगती है कि एग्जाम पोस्टपोन होनी चाहिए और क्यों?
Yes, ma'am. जरूर लगता है एग्जाम पोस्टपोन होना चाहिए and I agree with Aman that transportation and traveling is a big concern क्योंकि कितने बच्चे आउट ऑफ स्टेशन चले गए, सिटीज से गांव चले गए और वहां से फिर वापस ट्रैवलिंग वो सेफ नहीं है क्योंकि पहली तो बात ट्रेन अवेलेबल नहीं है और रही बात बसेस की तो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में जो सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग तो बिल्कुल फॉलो नहीं होती जो मैंने भी देखा है अपने से तो इस कारण वो बच्चे सेफ नहीं होंगे और अगली बात एडमिट कार्ड में जो आपका सेल्फ डिक्लेरेशन फॉर्म दिया गया है तो आज हम देखते हैं कि कितने लोग एसिम्प्टोमेटिक होते हैं तो उनको खुद भी पता नहीं होता कि वो कोरोना से संक्रमित है तो ऐसे में सेल्फ डिक्लेरेशन फॉर्म उतना कारगर नहीं हो सकता है और रही बात रिपोर्टिंग टाइम की तो कई बच्चे रिपोर्टिंग टाइम तो दिया गया है पर कई बच्चे सोचते हैं कि एग्जाम 1 घंटा 2 घंटा पहले जाए तो अब ऐसे में क्राउड को अवॉइड करना उतना डिफिकल्ट हो सकता है
Hey, your video and everything's gone.
Sorry, I was just getting that getting my connection switched to my other connection. I'm back now.
Okay.
No, but इतिशा आपसे ये पूछना है कि प्रोफेसर बता रहे हैं कि प्रिकॉशंस लिए जाएंगे सेंटर्स बढ़ाए गए प्रिकॉशंस लिए जाएंगे तो आपको अभी भी तकलीफ क्यों हो रही है
नहीं मैम प्रिकॉशंस तो लिए जाएंगे लेकिन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए जाएंगे मैम प्रिकॉशंस एसओपीज एग्जाम के अंदर होंगे पर बाहर जो पेरेंट्स का क्राउड होगा उनके लिए क्या व्यवस्था होगी वो जो 3 घंटे वहां रुकेंगे तो उनके लिए क्या व्यवस्था होगी वो सुबह से बच्चा हो या पेरेंट हो वो सुबह से ब्रेकफास्ट करके निकलेगा तो वो शाम तक भूखे कैसे रहेगा क्योंकि बाहर अभी खाना उतना सेफ नहीं है
Okay, again, quickly coming back to Professor Banerjee on this, are these valid concerns? What happens to the parents outside? A lot of times parents travel with students to the exam centers. There's not enough food publicly available at this point. Do you see these as concerns, Professor?
You know, let me. I mean, in a way, if let me be, you're talking to a 60-year-old, okay? I mean, to tell you very frankly, I understand this, but let me put it this way: if my son were to give the JEE exam today, okay, I would carry. I mean, don't we used to carry food when we used to travel by trains, overnight. So I think those are those. In my mind, I do accept one point that both Aman and Itisha are making, and that is that while inside we do everything, how do they get to the center? Okay, that's an issue that needs to be addressed. You know, at a different level. For example, let me put it this way: the IITs cannot be responsible for picking up people from different places to come for the exam. So I think those are issues. But in my mind, to a certain extent, uh, we are talking about slightly into the future. I mean, we are not talking about today. So things are, unlock situations are already improving. I can personally see that a lot of the daily wage workers who had gone to the villages, okay, have come back. So again, I'm talking anecdotal thing. I do not have personal experience on this issue at all. Okay, so I just want to sidestep that particular issue because I do, and I'm very clear about something. If for an IIT person, even if one student misses not due to their own thing, I think it's a very bad situation. That is something that's a given. Uh,
Okay, Anubha is here right now. Anubha is the is a representative of the Parents Association. Do you also believe in this being moved forward, or do you think that there's no challenge right now?
No, there is a challenge. There are many challenges which students are facing. Even government is also facing. We know that it's not easy for even government to conduct exam, but still, for they need to see what students are facing, what problems students are facing. Right now, from August till October or September, and we know that there are many chances of floods. In Odisha also yesterday they have declared that floods situation might be there. So students from northeast, from Bihar, from Orissa, West Bengal, many students, they will not be in a position to even appear for exam. Or they are actually, these students are preparing since many years. These students are preparing since many years to appear for these exams, but still they are not in a position to appear. COVID is one of the major factor, no doubt, but other main issues which students are facing is transport. We don't have a public transport right now. No trains are running. Central trains are also not running. Even many students are calling me and they are saying that admit cards have been issued, but they have not been allotted the centers which they have preferred as their first choice. So their hometown they have not been given as their center. A student from Bihar has to travel all the way to Kota. A student in Thane, he told me that he has to travel all the way to Pune. So how they will travel during this when transport is not available? Secondly, we know that the SOPs are not being followed in many exams which conducted recently in Karnataka, like KCET. COMEDK was conducted in many cities, and even in UP we have seen how the SOPs were not followed. So the major concern which students and parents are worried about is that the SOPs are not followed in ground. Practically, if you will see outside the examination center, so many crowd is there. So who will manage that? And uh, we know that COVID being a community spread, students are more worried and their parents are also very much worried how they will allow their children to go and appear for exam. So right now we are requesting for postponement not only for COVID, but secondly also for the flood affected areas where the students will not be in a position to appear for exam. Mostly the students who belong to middle class, lower middle and poor category. So the exam should not be left up to only the privileged class. Only privileged class will be able to appear for exam. They can use the flight. Yesterday, a student called me up from Indore. She told me that all the trains and public transport has been suspended. Now she has to fly all the way from Indore to her center, wherever the center is. It is almost 7 to 8 hours journey or 12 hours journey which she has to do. I don't know why government has not looked into all these issues as far as infra is concerned. Number of centers are also in Bihar. If you will see, Faye madam, number of centers in Bihar are only in 2 districts. We have been requesting that why not a center be made in each and every district, especially during this COVID season. We know that in COVID, there is a lot of issues which we are facing, parents are facing, students are facing. So why they are not increasing the number of centers in each and every district? They are restricting the centers only to particular 1 or 2 districts. How a student will travel? All these management has to be done by the government. No doubt, Supreme Court has said that you may go ahead with the examination. Life cannot be stopped, but government has to make arrangement for all these things. So major concern is the COVID, which the students are facing. If social distancing will be followed in each and every center, inside and outside, I don't think many students will have concern. Secondly, once the flood and rain season, floods and other affected areas will be under control and transport is resumed, I don't think that most of the students will definitely go ahead and appear for exam. But right now, for 2-3 months, I don't think this is the right time to conduct exams due to so many reasons, due to so many issues and concern which the students are raising. No doubt, by the month of October or maybe November, December, even IIT directors have said that it is not very difficult to manage the academic session. We will be in a position to manage the academic session even if the exams are further postponed for a few months. So they can easily manage the academic session, and not only IITs, other institutions are also going to face this problem and are facing. They will be managing the academic session. We are not saying that cancel the exam, make it a 0 year. Even colleges are shut as of now. Most of the schools and colleges are not open. Even if they will conduct the exam, what will happen? They will take admission and they will say we will open the college after a few months. And second option which we have been given is the online. If it is feasible, those students who can appear through online mode, they should be allowed. Those who can go and appear in the nearby center, they should be allowed to appear for the online exams also from their home or from the center. There are so many ways which can be adopted by the government. If they have taken time for 2-3 months, they should have been focusing on all these issues instead of preparing the SOPs, which are never followed on ground. If you will go through their SOPs are very good, but it is never followed in practical. If you will see, they have never been able to follow the SOPs on ground. So that's why students are very much concerned. Parents are worried that what will happen to my child if he goes to appear for exam. If the SOPs were not followed, there will be no social distancing. Then there are 101% chances of getting infected when the spread is a community spread, and it is also declared by WHO that it's an airborne disease now.
Yes.
Earlier it was not an airborne disease, but now.
No, but Anubhaji, to respond to what the professor said, Professor Banerji said we can't spend our lives right now in fear of the virus. We have to take precautions and start living our lives. So,
Yeah.
And also I must clarify, these reports that it's an airborne disease are completely false. It is only airborne in specific conditions when doctors are placing ventilators and intubating patients inside ICUs. It's not airborne when you and I are talking to each other. So we must be very clear when we're making these statements. But do you not agree that maybe it's time to take precautions and continue with our lives as opposed to
definitely we should continue with our life and take precaution. But what about the students who are in flood affected areas? Will they be left out? What provision the government is going to get? We have even requested the government, if you are not able to conduct exam for those students who are from flood affected areas, you make special arrangement for those students, maybe later on after a month or 2. But that also they are not willing to accept. So many students from Northeast, West Bengal, Bihar and other areas, flood affected areas, even Odisha, I don't think will be in a position to appear for exam. And JEE main is happening from 1st to 6th. JEE advanced will happen in the end of I think September. So there's a huge gap, and during that time, by end of September, I don't know what will be the situation. Those students who will qualify for JEE mains may not be in a position to appear for JEE advance. That is also one of the major concerns which students are telling me, that even if we clear JEE mains, we may not be in a position to appear for JEE advance due to various reasons. So the government must.
Okay, all right. So let me bring the students back in again, and I want to unfortunately share another story that was published in the New Indian Express on the 19th of August. A 19-year-old young girl, an NEET aspirant in Coimbatore, died by suicide a day after the Supreme Court dismissed the petition seeking the postponement or reschedulement of these exams. Her parents said that she appeared for the exam last year but hadn't done well. So she spent the whole of this year studying for this one exam. And then when the verdict came out, she just felt that she wasn't going to do well. And that is why she took her life. Now, in India, we do have among the highest numbers of death by suicide among students. And that's another thing to worry about. Aman, in terms of just the stress and the mental health that, issues that stem from an exam being under this much, questions and doubts, could you tell us what some of your friends or other aspirants have been going through?
Ma'am, see, our exams are scheduled to be held in May every year. It is because the January, February, March, these months are of pleasant type. There is nothing like flood or situation in any part of country. So we all are in calm situation to appear for exam. But now there are many of my friends are in flood situation. They call me every day and they say, यार कुछ पढ़ नहीं पा रहे हैं, मतलब घर में पानी आया हुआ है. They say such type of thing. So we cannot consider everybody in same situation. There are many of my friends who are living in Madhepura, in Saharsa, in Muzaffarpur, and their house are flooded. So how we can say that they are all well prepared? They were prepared for May, but government then didn't took exam because I don't know why. But now the situation changed. In this situation, when your house is flooded with water, you think student can prepare well.
इतिशा,
Yes,
क्या आपको लगता है कि एग्जाम ऐसे आगे पीछे करके डेट चेंज करके इतना अनसर्टेनिटी जो है ये स्टूडेंट्स की मेंटल हेल्थ पे असर लगेगा?
मैम अगर एग्जाम्स हो गए तो वो तो और भी मेंटल हेल्थ पे असर करेगा. आई टोटली अग्री विद अमन दैट फ्लड्स है और फ्लड्स में इतना क्या कहते हैं प्रेशर हो रहा है कि अब जिसके घर में पानी घुसा हो, मैडम आप सोचिए वो कैसे सोच सकता है कि हम एक बुक लेके पढ़ने बैठे. इतनी सारी प्रॉब्लम्स है. और जहाँ पे फ्लड्स नहीं भी है, मान लीजिए कि अगर कोई मेंबर इन्फेक्टेड है या फिर कोई घर में कोरोना पेशेंट है तो उसके ऊपर भी बहुत प्रेशर पड़ता है कि कैसे प्रिकॉशंस ले. और सबका घर उतना बड़ा नहीं होता कि उसको एक रूम में रख के आइसोलेट कर सके. तो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट एट दिस टाइम.
तो क्या आपको लगता है कि अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट की तो वैसी सुनवाई हुई है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपना डिसीजन तो सुना लिया है कि एग्जाम्स पोस्टपोन नहीं हो सकते. अभी हेल्थ में एजुकेशन मिनिस्ट्री ने भी कहा है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की पालन करेंगे वो अपने सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर की और एग्जाम्स तो टाइम से होंगे. तो अभी क्या करेंगे? अभी क्या उम्मीद करते हैं?
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि आप वो इंटरवीन नहीं करेंगे. वो पूरे गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर उन्होंने छोड़ दिया है कि हम गवर्नमेंट के पॉलिसी में इंटरवीन नहीं करेंगे. अब ये गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर है कि वो पोस्टपोन करे या ना करे. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट इसमें साफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने मना नहीं किया है इसमें.
Right. I'm also going to give a last word to Professor Banerji. Do you think there is room here, Professor, to postpone the lot of it? Or do you think that the government should be at this point looking for a specific, solution for flooded areas of Bihar and other states?
I see. I think what this thing of giving people who are not flood affected to give the exam now and for others to give it 2 months later is not possible. Why? Because you have one exam and then the next exam, right? And obviously if you have certain people, so that's not a doable. But in my mind, if this is the kind of situation, postponing it to, let me put it this way, postponing it to December ensures that there's there are certain people who teach a particular course, and if those two courses overlap of 2 years, it's not possible. You know, I mean, let me put it this way: we don't have. See, every IIT has about 25 to 30% less faculty anyway. You know, so if we have next year's batch coming in July, and this year's batch is still studying first year till October, okay, that is not going to happen. I'm being extremely blunt about it. It's not going to happen. Okay, but you know, if we have a situation where, as I said, you know, if it's done in October, you know, early October, and the results are declared, because please understand this, that I just told you that under normal circumstances, the JEE main is held early in May.
Yes.
Okay, and the final, I'm talking about IITs alone. IIT admission is done in July. Okay, the last thing happens almost around 20th of July. Okay, so please understand that the entire process takes 2.5 months, and there's not 2.5 months where everybody's sitting around waiting for the last day. 2.5 months needs 2.5 months, because you're actually dealing with large number of students, and you know the process, especially in the IIT system, our processes have to be secure. You know, so therefore there's a 2.5 months. So if you're talking about October, then you're talking about end January as the starting date, and once you end January, then until and unless you kind of you know, have overlap between first year, that's not, it's not possible in the IIT system. Let me put it, I'm being extremely blunt about it. Okay, so in which case, you know, I mean, maybe we'll have a look and see what we can do in terms of admission, or maybe have a 0 year. I don't know. See, let me be this thing. See, if students do not feel that they can give the exam, then our holding the exam, I think, is moot.
Yes.
You know, because we are holding the exam for the students. We are not holding the exam for ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm extremely blunt about it, students. But at the same time, one has to also understand the other aspects. I mean, that's something. You know, as I said, it. You know, even if you allow for everything, it is still 32 weeks from the start of the semester, and with no vacation at all. So, in other words, a student finishes an exam, continues immediately next
Yes.
week. You know, so that if you do that, that's still 32 weeks. Okay, and if you start in January, just do the math.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not.
that's a very very fair point, that there's so much behind just the exam, and just to put it in a nutshell, the things that the professor pointed out is at least to do with the IIT, and one can imagine as far as medical colleges are concerned and other engineering colleges are concerned, that perhaps similar considerations as well. The date of admission and entry of a student when the semester actually begins, the staffing of you know, the various semesters at various years. It's not just the first year, but there are semesters through the entire course. How that staffing is done, how the structuring of the semesters are done, and how much time is needed to actually get through a semester in order to get through the next. Remember, there will be a domino effect as well. It will be important to finish the year before, you know, just so the second year can go into the second year and so on and so forth, because otherwise you will knock one over the other, both in medical science and in engineering. But the professor also said about something very important, that at the end of the day, the exams are being held for the benefit of students. And if there is such a massive outcry across the country of students asking for these exams to be moved forward, even if it is by 10 or 15 or 20 days, like the professor said, maybe till early October, maybe that's something the government ought to consider and give more thought, because it does seem up till now that there's a certain bit of digging in of heels that the government has also done, saying that we're not moving this. But there is a wave of cry for help coming from students on various matters, on whether they have access to public transport, whether they're able to access their centers, whether they're worried about floods or they're worried about the pandemic. Remember, there are several states still in complete lockdown right now. Traveling in and out of them is still difficult. So what happens in all of those conditions as well? For the government at the center to make a decision that affects everyone across the country, while state governments are making separate decisions as well, is a complicated, extraordinary situation. in this complicated and extraordinary situation, does it make sense for the government to listen to students? Because, as pointed out by the Supreme Court, their careers and their lives hang in balance. We do hope that whatever the government does decide, at the best of its wisdom, that it listens a little more closely to what students really need at this point and what they want. For now, thanks for watching. Good night.